Hello and welcome, I'm JD, and today we're going to play Station Capture on Silent Citadel. Something different. It's a game mode that I haven't played for a while, to be honest. We're being the OSP, playing as the defenders, and the ANS are attacking. So here we are. We've got a bit of a rock in the center just before the facility that is going to both be a bit of cover for us, but also going to be a bit of a hindrance. Now I've got two Mass Driver line ships, and I've also got the Toss of Carina, yeah, that's it, as a early warning ship as well. So I'm playing around with a little bit of where I want to deploy. At the moment I've got both of them together, and then I've got the early warning ship a little bit apart so that I can try to cover the right hand edge of the station, so that as we defend, I'll be able to provide that early warning there.
Got you 5x5.
Alright, so on the smaller ship, I've got both an early warning radar and a bloodhound. Now I don't have enough power for both of them at the same time, so my plan here is to use the early warning radar to sort of scan the area, and then when I've found a target that I want to focus on, or use the mass drivers to focus on from the two line ships, then I'll turn that one off and use the bloodhound in order to actually spotlight the target and provide a little bit of a better track. Now I do have the two track correlators on the Toss of Carina just to help reduce the positional and velocity error.
Full power.
And if we can use the locks of any of our friends, then we'll always use that.
Power fully restored. Roger that. Reports low power.
I think in this build too, I've got to turn my radar off. Yep, there you go. So I can turn that off to make sure that I power the early warning radar. Now I've got the two line ships here. Both of them have the 4 mass drivers apiece. I did invest in a few electronic regulators as well, just to get the cycle rate up a little. Sorry, not the cycle rate, the reload rate up a little bit faster. And I am moving them apart. Now the reason I wanted to do that was that if one of them got caught by the enemy fleet, then I didn't want to have both of the ships caught together in the same attack, and that way I could provide a little bit of support for each of the ships. So as they come around, what I envisage is as the enemy comes around that center rock that we're providing our defense behind, and you can see the ships moving in there, then I'll be able to provide some shots against them. Now the downside is that as the enemy comes around that side, I'm not going to be able to provide the full amount of fire. So it can go both ways really, in terms of if I kept them together or if I'd pushed further around to the right hand side with my whole fleet, and that would have provided or drawn away the enemy, but it would have also left me isolated too. So a game of trade-offs, I think. You saw me use the heading and roll options just to start to bring the ships onto target a little bit better, and I'm just doing a bit of an early warning sweep across just to make sure that nothing is sprinting around the right hand side. Now 30 minutes is a long time to hold the facility. You really got to make sure that your ships can survive that long, because at the end of the day, as long as we prevent the enemy from holding or capturing that facility, we win. So
Stop the ship.
We'll see how we go. Just playing a lot with that heading, just trying to make sure that we are bringing our ships onto target. They do take a while, so this is sort of a bit of in our favour. Now the rest of our ships, looks like we've got here two line ships under the BLDS tag. We've got an Ocello with the ANS Eyes and Fork, a couple tugs, and a couple other line ships around. We also have a couple support clippers by the looks of it. That one looks like it's got casemates, maybe 250s on it. to try and prevent the ANZ Howe from rotating its hull upwards, as we do try to maintain the guns facing in one direction at all times. Now I do have radars on the 2 line ships. Now you can actually get rid of them, I think, and some players will just rely on the spotting ship, but I do like the redundancy, I guess, in terms of being able to use them if the main spotting ship goes down. If I were to remove them, then they basically have no way to shoot at anything without having a friendly be able to provide a spot or a track. If I was to get rid of them, I would probably invest in more E-regs, I think, just to be able to increase that fire rate a little bit more, because at the end of the day I'm trying to output the maximum amount of damage to support the rest of the fleet.
Standing by.
You can see there T-30s on some of those line ships.
Aye, aye,
Just do another sweep, so we can see that some of the ships are starting to move around on that right hand side, and we're just sweeping across, nothing on the far right. But now that we've swept back, you can see where the enemy is. I should be able to swap over to the spotlight, to the Bloodhound fairly shortly.
Copy. Engaging.
With some tracks identified, I probably shouldn't be firing on this, considering it's an early warning radar track. Should be switching to Bloodhound at some point. We are spotted, so I do want to eventually move the ship out. Now that I've queued up where the Bloodhound is,
Roger that.
we will find our targets and start firing.
Moving out. Aye, aye.
Now, one thing that if I was to do this again, I'd probably use signals a little bit more to help guide where I'm actually pointing my Bloodhound onto a target. That would have made lining it up a lot easier, but I didn't do that this game.
Go ahead, Command. Waiting for your orders, Commander.
Alright, we've found the ships. We're going to get the nose battery and the mid batteries firing. I've grouped the mass drivers on both ships into groups of 2. And I figured that would also help with, if we're rotating, then one of them should be able to help get the traverse on instead of trying to get all 4 on at the same time. We are targeting whatever is at the back there.
Got him in our sights.
And we're bearing to target.
Roger that.
Now the mass drivers will overtake. There we go, get first shots off. The mass drivers will take priority over the heading roll, but I do want to update that heading for when we do cease firing. Now we did get, I think, 3 or 4 shots on there. It looks like 450s being fired, so likely a Cellos. We've got the ANZ Howe that has been firing. We're now going to get front deep also firing. Gotta love the randomized names, and we're marking a few high priority targets out the back. Couple misses. Over time, you know, that's quite deadly, considering that they do want to move forward here. One hit, maybe a second.
Go ahead, Command.
That can be quite rough, I think, because you're really missing some of the heavy bits of damage there. But at the end of the day, that'll force them to seek cover, and by seeking cover, that will slow them down a little bit. See the Ocello down the bottom there, trading a bit of fire. Otherwise, the rest of our team has largely remained hidden. And we've also got a Clipper up the top there, just providing a little bit of eyes on.
Aye, aye. Roger that. Aye, aye.
Alright, so early warning radar again showing where we need to look for, and just another sweep off to the right, always checking.
Roger that.
I'm going to start moving the Howl around to support the left-hand side. That provides a little bit more distance between the two. It will also help that Ocello, is what I was initially thinking as I was doing this.
Roger that. Power's running low.
Lining up the Bloodhound track or Bloodhound order, so that when I turn off the EWAR, it will actually help bring it back onto target. And a bit of a missile volley there. You can see a lot of point defense missiles coming out. In some of them, if you are playing, it can be helpful to have the larger ships only do point defense zone only, which you can see what I'm doing here because I've wasted some of my missiles. It's not always bad to support team members, but generally the smaller ships are probably better to support the larger ships in terms of anti-missile missiles, and then you just have your larger ships maintain their own missiles for themselves when they are directly threatened.
We can take him. At the ready, Commander. What are our orders, Commander? We've got him in our sights. Firing solution locked in.
Couple hits on both these ships. It looks like maybe 2 to 3 each. Not doing too bad. Can't really tell how much damage we are doing. We obviously do get spotted every time we fire, so that is a downside for us. And we can see that we've gathered enough intel to see that these are keystones and these are going to be beams. Now, makes complete sense for this type of map. They've got excellent amounts of terrain to hide behind, and even though that we can use terrain, it's also going to be a downside for us because the beams will be able to pop out. So T-30 from the line ship popping up, throwing out a number of different bits of fire as we're also putting a bit of covering fire down. Can't remember where that Ocello went. It pulled back a little bit, so you can see on the left-hand side, Eyes and Fork have pulled back to the left-hand side, just maintaining a bit of range. RPF coming out from some of the ships there, getting a little bit of hits on us.
Target confirmed.
This is where I want to prioritize shooting down any of the beams that I do see. They will do a lot more damage, I think, to us than the 450s will, just because they'll be able to really shred through. And you can see that first beam lancing out there, and it's getting the Ocello right in that flank.
Aye, aye, Commander.
There's the first one. You can see I'm going to fire all 4 at it.
Aye, aye, Commander.
Still drifting around. We've been able to keep the heads down of the 2 ships in the back, but now this is where it would have also been good if we had all of my line ships. Like I was saying, you know, it's good that now that I split them up, so I had one ship on the right, one ship on the left, so I could cover each other, and if one group of ships pushed and I lost one ship, then I'd be able to continue fire with the other. However, so we'd be able to, you know, that provides a little bit of redundancy for the beams. However, with all the beams on one side, I can't focus down all the beams at the other. So you're sort of in a bit of a trade-off here. You know, do you protect all the ships or do you sort of focus fire? I do notice that I am a little bit to the right, and I do want to start moving that line ship around as well.
Target confirmed. Engaging. We've been locked on. We're screwing with the sensors, Commander.
See that there's another ship there. Someone's marked it as a high priority, and we've got a lock, so that's exactly what I want to be firing at now, making use of the improved accuracy to really get those mass drivers onto target. I can't tell sort of how much damage we're doing because we have no visuals and we don't really have that too much intel, but I do want to get down there and start putting some fire onto that. Here you can see the 3 beams at least. We've got some shots firing down. They're firing a few missiles at us, but it's largely been negated through our joint point defense. We are getting most of our hits onto target for track 7915.
Got him in our sights. Firing solution locked in.
Now I'm using the nose battery to fire on one, and I'm using the mid battery to fire on another. I do want to try to take out those beams. I don't really need to destroy the whole ship, just the majority of the ship. You can see my point defense is doing fairly well, taking down most of their missiles. We're also getting 450s on a bit of a oblique firing, but with the fact that the beams are actually taking out my spotting ships, that's quite sad, but we are close enough now where the line ship, all the rest of my fleet, my friends will be able to provide the locks in the track, so that's okay. Voxels off on the left hand side. These are super fast. You can see them, they're coming in really quickly. The 250s there as well, doing a little bit of damage. There's a 4th beam ship there as well. I can't remember if they're all the same player or if they're different players, but quite scary to see all 4 pop around. Even though, you know, we were talking about earlier, look, it's what's it's going to be. We do want to get one of the Bloodhound back up. One beam's really just destroying us in the middle. Another one missing. That's okay. Really want to get those Mass Drivers back. I was sort of thinking, oh, the point defense is not too bad. Looks like they've probably expended most of our missiles, but this is really where I get caught. The benefit of the range is for the Mass Drivers is now being sort of outweighed by the fact that they are well within killing distance. You can see that track 2035 has been taken out, and that frontal beam, where within that visual range where you can check, you can come back online, but we do just want to be able to take them out, make sure that they're not getting all their beams onto us, being the targets. So it's important just to switch fire and move it around. CIC went down, so try and bring that back online so we can keep on firing. Probably not going to get a chance because those beams are super close in and just doing all the damage to us. I was thinking with this one I should probably also be supporting the beams, and I did get the orders to fire onto them. However, it's taken too long to rotate, so I really probably should have just prioritized the voxels at this point, making sure that I put fire onto them really instead of wasting those shots over onto the beams.
We're ready whenever you are.
So having my ships split off was actually probably a good idea in this case. We are just going to continue to reposition the line ships. Looks like we did get some damage onto the sides of them. That one's got its CIC down. The 450s punching through on the sides. They're not really being able to turn onto the rest of the targets, who are now just firing copious amounts of missiles onto the enemy. I can't see if too many of them got hit. The 250 voxels here look like they do want to pull back a little bit, and they'll probably be able to. I think they'll have more than enough in terms of defending against that Ocello, but we'll see how they go. Battleship coming in with 450mm cannons. I think that's what the line ship firing the 100mm guns was firing at. He's pushed forward over the top. Looks like he's hunting the 2 ships in the back. May have been better to pull back over, but he is holding down. They look like Axfords out the back as well, so hard to say there. That one looks like it's dead. Yep, so we'll mark that as killed. What else we got? We've got no ammo by the looks of it. 4 restores. Oh no, that's this fleet here, or this ship here I should say. Lots of chaff being fired out. You can see again the lock has been provided for us, so we're going to focus that down. 2 beamstones being destroyed, a 3rd one also being destroyed. Life pods coming out there, so we'll knock that out. A good charge from them, but it was something that did take out the line ship, but they did pay a bit of a cost for it. They weren't able to turn around to deal with the other threats that were being presented to them. Here you go, the 450mm Axfords out the back. Now there's no plasma that's also stripping the armor from those, so not the best engagement, but again it is tying up those 2 Axfords, and I think that's really important, as you may see a little bit later on. Just being able to keep them out the back there really prevents them from joining the engagement, and probably they should have been moving forward just continually. If they had pushed, if the 2 Axfords had pushed with that battleship, I think it would be a little bit different, because it would have been a high armor type of push with 450, like a lot of 450mm with a lot of 450mm cannons, and I don't think we would have been able to deal with that because we didn't really have a lot of plasma, although we did have a lot of missiles. See a nice missile play being fired out from there, catching one of the light cruisers on the way through. Beautiful sight, to be honest. Now that takes out pretty much 4192. It's burning. We've got the mass drivers being fired at. We do lose our lock, unfortunately. We are trying to just peel off. If they do start to engage me, then they are going to need to divert their fire. That's okay. I'm just trying to pull them off to the left-hand side here. I'm not going to be able to do anything here. I think I screwed up how I was using my restores. I've been doing that like recently. but they don't know that I don't have anything on that ship, so I'm going to try and move that ship anyway. Lock's been changed for us. We're getting a mass driver fire into the rear of the light cruiser, putting it down into its drives into its power plant. That'll be able to mobilize it if we are able to continue firing. 250mm fire returning towards us. And those tugs are just continually putting out, it looks like just some cheap MLS gale fire. Not all of them hitting. Chaff doing a little bit of work there, but we're getting enough on there, particularly in the crucial areas of power and drives. That's going to make it really hard for that ship to come back online. That one too, still a little bit damaged, but still providing good fire. You can see the Axfords now starting to make a bit of a move around those rear rocks, trying to come in and provide a little bit of support. It looks like the line ship that was engaging them has been taken out, and there is one out there still, so they'll definitely be able to provide or overwhelm that force there.
Sorry, not possible. Orders, command.
10 minutes to go, and probably getting a little bit nervous around this point because there's a battleship that's starting to move in. I've really lost one of my line ships. The other line ship has taken a bit of damage, but still got some restores left. We did take out one of the light cruisers. The other two are now actually engulfed within that reactor explosion, degrading their armor. So now this is the time that any 100mm shots going into those would really do a lot of damage, because they would have no armor. Basically, we're bypassing that armor for the majority of it. Changed my mind. I do want to actually just go in and start to jump into the facility. You can see that the enemy here has got some small ships that are being able to cap it. I'm going to start to rotate the ANZ Howe just to make sure that we're start putting some fire into it. Our friend must be almost out of missiles here at some point. We do get a lock on the battleship. I'm going to start putting some fire into that. Aurora's getting some, but we are going to get a couple missiles onto track, what's that, 9634. So that one's going to go down. That leaves with one corvette and the battleship that is sitting onto, that is capturing the facility. Another light cruiser has gone down, so life pods ejecting there. You can see the magic oil on the corvette that's down. And we are now going to get the Noble. I didn't catch the rest of its name.
We're ready whenever you are.
8:38 or 8 minutes remaining. We are starting to take back our ship, our facility. Another ship, another light cruiser likely detonating over on the left-hand side. So enough critical hits onto it. Even without a lock, we did manage to clip one of the corvette with one of the mass driver shots, and the missiles will take out the other one. So we are being able to recapture that facility. We're going to bring one line ship in, so make sure that it is going to contest the point. Now, remembering that you do actually need something active on that ship, but again, the enemy doesn't know, so it's just a target for them to shoot at. And there's one more voxel that is still in there. It's not dead yet. I'm going to try and get a radar onto it.
Acknowledged. Need to get that component ready whenever you are. Engaging. Aye, aye.
We have lost track of where those Axfords are, so I am just trying to get a bit of an awareness of where it is. We are taking some damages there as well. That looks like a 450mm clipped my reactor and my drive. So all hands to panic stations. We've got a minute 50 to clean that up before we sort of go a little bit critical. We do need to bring our radars onto there. You can see roughly where they're firing from where the bullets are tracing up.
Roger that.
Minute 32 now. We've got 5 components damaged. Bit of fire going on.
We lost a component. Combat move.
Again, just trying to get out of the way. This is a super slow ship. It's not going anywhere fast, but we are just trying to bring everything back online, make sure we're okay. A minute to go. 6 minutes still to capture and maintain a hold of the facility. You can see the 2 Axfords, the battleship, and that Vauxhall is gone. So we did get all of the light cruisers. 450s are doing a little bit of damage now over to us. We've got only one team that has been able to traverse the ship, make its way through all our corridors. We've got a second one that's just entered the reactor to help. That's always good. Heavy cruisers leave me alone for a second, which is probably the right thing and the wrong thing to do. You know, it's always hard to tell what the enemy is doing. If they had put a few more 450s into me, I think I would have been dead here. But I'm still going. They're still repairing. 30 seconds to go. I'm a little bit tense because this is the last bit of my combat capability that I can provide support with. I should have considered the emergency reactor shutdown a while ago. I would have lost the reactor, but I would have been able to bring it back and the drives back. I completely forgot about that because it takes 30 seconds to shut down, and I was within the 30 seconds. We're at 3, 2, 1. Yeah, no, we don't make it. So there goes my line ship, and I could have saved that with the scram reactor or the scram shutdown. Completely forgot about it. Haven't really had to use it, but we were probably about like 1 or 2 seconds off, and that's just super sad. But the game's not over. We've still got 5 minutes. We've got a battleship that is encroaching on our territory. We've got 2 Axfords there. We've taken out all the beams. We've taken out all the light cruisers. The corvettes are gone. Here comes the Ocello. It is doing a great job, but it is fighting 2 Axfords with 450mm cannons, and that is just hard for it. It doesn't really have the same amount of armor, but yeah, it is coming. We are holding onto this facility at the moment.
At the ready, Commander.
And at this point, I'm like, oh well, I better get all my ships in there. Yeah, I start to think about moving the tug in. Or I will in a second. You see, the rest of our team is just swarming into there. Bland's actually has 2 little ships left, so he's got 2 corvettes that are just going to dance around the point. And this is the part that can be hard because the enemy doesn't know which ships technically have the combat capability in order to maintain defense of the facility. However, the 450mm are also at the disadvantage where they are slow enough in terms of muzzle velocity that smaller ships can dance around the point and are important enough that as long as they don't get caught, we can carry on. A couple of GGs come out there, but you know, still 3 minutes to go. We aren't dead yet. They do have to capture our ships. Bit of a slip of the tongue there, but nothing too bad. This is one of those, you know, never give up sort of games. Now, something that maybe we shouldn't be doing here is where BLDS is got the corvettes moving around, is not to have them firing, because that indicates that they are combat capable.
On the way, Commander.
And you don't want to give away which ones are combat capable. What we should have potentially done is just cease fire and moved around. We're not probably at 100mm, we're probably not penetrating any of these ships, considering we didn't plasma them down. They didn't get caught any reactor overloads. This ship just needs to keep moving and not get caught. That's all it needs to do. It doesn't have to do anything else. So 2 minutes to go, or 3 minutes to go, I should say. The 2 line ships out here, they held those Axfords off for a while, just kept them down, or kept them away. I think if those, like I was saying earlier, if the Axfords had come out a little bit earlier, I think we could have been in a little bit of trouble because we wouldn't have had the damage to be able to deal with them all. We expended all our missiles and everything else. That said, if they were a little bit further forward, we potentially would have caught them within the reactor detonation. So we could have been also okay there as if they had moved, but chances are we would have died a lot quicker. One of the corvettes are getting a few shots onto target there. That was worrying me because I thought, hey, look, that's probably one of our combat capable corvettes. Visually beautiful at this point in time, just sort of capturing some a bit of the ship graveyard. But yeah, we're not really doing too much. We're just running down the clock here. 90 seconds to go, getting a little bit tense. I was, as we are just waiting to make sure that I think it's just this one BLDS Verkacal. I think it's the only one that has combat capability. Now, you can see that as we start to pile onto the point, the enemy ship's not targeting the little clipper. What they are doing is targeting all the tugs. So, you know, that is, I think, what's saving us here is the fact that I think that's what's saving us, is because if they had focused their attention onto the Corvette, we would have been caught. 40 seconds to go. We're really doing the impossible here. Still trying to get my ship on. Now, this has no combat capability at all, but the enemy, again, they don't know that, so it's as much as a you know, an intel information game as possible. Now, if the enemy had Intel 2, they may have seen that some of them would have been listed as what's the term? It's not under command. It would have been something such as, you know, no threat or something. I can't remember what the actual Intel state there is for it, but they would have seen that we had sort of, you know, no combat capability. And that's it. We run it down to 0. This was very close.
We're under attack,
sort of very happy with the fact that we got that as a victory, because I thought towards that last 5 minutes we would have been destroyed. But there it is. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.